What's going on, everyone? Zach coming to you from Barcelona. I don't mean to flex this hard, but I'm about to get on the plane, and this is the only place I could be to record. So, super excited for tonight's meeting. As we all know, short-term rentals are a very, very real thing in our market, and really excited to learn about that. Really, I'm glad that we record these now. If you haven't been listening to our podcast, definitely check it out. It's on Spotify. You can find it on the website, but sad to miss this one. So two in a row I'm going to miss. But as we speak, I am in the air. I'll be landing at 10 p.m. So I hope you guys enjoy it. With that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just get into this month's market report. All right, so this is month 43 that we've been doing the Ruiz report. Not too shabby. And we're seeing some changes. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Zach Ruiz. I run the Ruiz report. I also run a website called REMC.co. It's about all I do is data and analytics for real estate in the area. Honestly, that's my son Everest there. And the Ruiz report, its mission is essentially twofold. One is to equip realtors with the data-driven market insights through our 10-slide report. That's what we're going to go over. And two is to empower them with industry-leading training to become their client's local economist of choice. And that's what we're going to be talking about also today, right? And we do that by starting with the graphs. Or as I like to say, the pretty shapes and colors are how to read the graph, right? So every graph is going to copy this pattern. On the far right is the report month in question. For our purposes, it's going to be September. To the left, you'll see another bar or metric, and it'll have a red box around it, and that's last year, so last September. And then you get the trailing 2 months, but it gives you a quarter. So it's the quarter coming in last year, essentially. The 3 months coming in last year to get us some seasonality, see how that looked, right? And so every graph, like I said, follows this pattern. And hopefully when I watch this video after doing the whole thing, you can't hear everyone in the background. So let's do it. Volume and activity. This is basically telling us how much real estate has been happening. And all we're really concerned about here is the height of the bar and the proportion of red to green. So the green is the homes that sold. That means they closed. They went under contract in a previous month, but they closed in September. And then the rest of it is how many went under contract, accepted an offer in that month. And the red is total active listings. So how many listings were available for sale at any given time throughout the month. And that's the height of that bar. Now, what we can see is that active listings increased by 4% in September. We're going to kind of talk about that. That plays into inventory. And that basically overall volume was up 2% from last month, but still down 7% from this time last year. And we're going to see that most of our year-over-year metrics are down. And as I always say, or recently I've had to say, keep that in context because we're coming off the highs of all highs, right? So let's move on to listings and pendings. This is probably my favorite slide. You hear me say this all the time. This is the slide that talks about supply and demand. And so what do I mean by that? Well, that's what I mean. So when the red bar, which is your new listings, is above the green line, which is what went under contract, what was taken off the market, you've added more homes to the market. That's what that means. Right. And when there's a gap, when the red bar is below the green line, then that gap represents how many homes you took off the market and did not replenish. Right. So if we go to this month's data, we can see that we've been consistently adding supply lately. Let's make our little emoji face. Right. So we've been consistently adding supply since March, meaning we've added more homes than we've taken off month over month for some time now. Right. But it's still not enough. You have to put this in perspective. If we look at our at-a-glance velocity slide, which is one of the first slides, if you ever present this report and they've already seen it, you start with the at-a-glance. We're not doing that today. And our month's inventory is still 2.5 months, right? So a seller's market all the way up until 5, but let's call it 6 months. We're very far away from a neutral market still. It's still very, very much a seller's market. So let's keep that in mind. And supply and demand directly affects pricing, as we all know. So if we look at the home prices, year over year, we're actually down a little bit from 607 to 597 of our average price, right? But our median is still up. So that's 50% of the homes in Buncombe County were worth 460 or more. That's a lot, right? So this is next month, we're actually doing luxury real estate. You should totally check in for that. But how do you define luxury when your average price is around 600,000? Maybe it's because I haven't made my first billion yet, but to me, 600,000 is the high average price. So what we see here, and this is an important little addition here, is the trend line is still up and to the right. And even though it doesn't look like a hockey stick anymore, our prices are still increasing in the area. Okay. So supply and demand directly affects pricing. Let's get some food for thought on this point. Supply is limited, even though it's kind of coming back, it is limited. We have mountains, we have all sorts of issues in our area that are going to basically ensure that supply is limited, especially because demand exceeds supply, at least in our area. Now, if you watched last week's video, or if you were there, and if you didn't, it's on our YouTube channel. Payments continue to increase. We went over kind of median incomes and mortgage rates to explain that briefly in the video. And so food for thought for tonight. Short-term rentals may be a viable alternative to selling. People who would have otherwise sold to increase our supply are probably just going to keep their home in long-term or short-term rental it. Our panelists will give you a little bit more information about that strategy tonight. So we're going to briefly go over the next slide. So we have days on market. How long did it take to sell a home? 38 days average across all price ranges, which is, great historically, but crazy for us recently. But still, the median is 13 days. That means across all price ranges in Buncombe County, 50% of homes, went under contract in 13 days or less. If you have a listing and you're not in that situation, you may want to consider a price reduction. And if you're looking to buy a home and they have not had a price reduction and they're above 38 days or so, the average, you might want to consider a below ask offer. Contract to close, largely out of your hands, but how long is it taking homes to close these days? It looks around 51 days. So 51 days after you go under contract, you should be closing. Talk to your lenders or loan people. They'll have a better idea. And then finally, contract to cash. So from the moment you list your home with a realtor and go live until the moment you sell, it looks like across all price ranges, that took about 3 months, 90 days. Still pretty fast, right? But as we all know, people who read the Ruiz report and come to AVLmeetup, they're not average, right? So the median is 50% of homes listed and then cash that check in 56 days or less. And you want to be there. So this is a way to set expectations and have these conversations to ensure that everyone's on the same page. So if you haven't seen this slide, this is slide 4 of the Ruiz report. And so when you're with clients or if you're interested yourself, you look at your price range. The report itself is the macro market. It's the whole county. But this breaks it down by price range so you can get your micro market and check all those things out. Right. So I want to leave as much time as possible for our speakers, but we have 2 quick announcements. First off, if that was fast for you, if you haven't seen this before, the Ruiz report training videos are now for free. When you log on to the Ruiz report, there's no charge whatsoever. You just put in your email address and your name, and I'll give you all this data-driven training for free. We have a video on every single slide. So yes, it does leverage the report, but that it doesn't matter. The concepts are the exact same. If you want to pull this data yourself or use something else, don't worry about it. I teach you how to interpret the graphs and define all the metrics. That's really cool. So if you want that, it's just the ruizreport.com. And then the second quick announcement for all the Ruiz Report subscribers in the room today. Now we just launched the Ruiz Report quizzes, and I'm super excited about this. Right, so the way the report is useful is if you know where the information is and you know how to communicate it. Right, so this is only going to loop one more time, but you just take quiz. There's over 7.7 billion combinations, if you can believe it. I pull from the quiz bank, and the questions change order. And the super cool feature is even when you're wrong, you could still learn, right? So I pick the wrong answers from previous month's correct answers. So even when you're wrong, I'm teaching you, yeah, that was wrong, but your choice was the correct answer for September 2022 in this case. And then I teach you where to find the information on the slide. So while the first couple times taking the quiz, if you're not familiar with the report, might take a while, this is the best way, hands down, to learn the report. So that's all I've got. We'll stop sharing. Again, thanks for listening. I'm really sad I missed this one, but excited for next month's Luxury Agents and really looking forward to listening to this episode on our podcast. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.